everybody, it's Jessica with Pretty Presets, and I just wanted to do a quick video on how I do head swapping in Photoshop. I usually use Lightroom for all of my editing. Photoshop is definitely a program that I am not as experienced in, and it's not something that I use on a regular basis, but as I've grown in my photography, I have learned to do several things in Photoshop that have really helped me in my editing, helped me in kind of making my photos what I want them to be. And so I just wanted to show you guys how I do a head swap in Photoshop. And so here I have a session where I did a family of 6, and these are just the cutest little kids in the world. And head swapping is something that I have found to be super helpful when I'm shooting large groups, especially large families where there's lots of kids, even if you have a smaller family. I have used the head swap option in Photoshop because there's often times where you have a shot where you love everything about this particular image except maybe one of the kids is not looking, or maybe they're making a silly face, or whatever it is. And so you can super easily swap out a head just from another image and replace it, and all of this can be done in Photoshop. And so what you're looking for is definitely some images that were shot kind of at the same time with the same settings, the same lighting, and all of that. These are already edited with my Pretty Presets, and so these are all edited the same. They were all taken the same time, and so these are super easy just to kind of do that head swapping option in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you how I do that. For this, I want to replace this head here of this little girl who's not looking, and I want to replace it with this shot where she is looking and she's sharp, and I think we can definitely accomplish that. So the trick that I use to get my photos over to Photoshop is, while I have Lightroom open, I'm going to press Command E. For Mac users, for PC, I believe it's Control E, and that's going to just shoot your photo directly over to your Photoshop. It's going to open there. You're not going to have to worry about exporting and then opening in Photoshop. It just sends it over there. Super simple. I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to do the same thing to the other photo. So you need to get both of your photos over there, the one that you want to use the particular head, and then the image that you want to try to save. And so here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press Command E or Control E if you have a PC. So now I'm going to have both of my images over here in Photoshop. So once I have that, I'm going to select the Move tool. I'm going to drag out the photo that I am going to want to crop out a head on. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these two images into one. And so holding down the Shift key, I'm just going to drag one image to the other. And that, you can see here, has put them both on the same project right here. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just going to section out the part of the head or the body or whatever it is that you want to swap out. And when I learned to do this, I was told to definitely give yourself some grace with this area. You don't want to get it too close to the head. Just know that you can erase all of the area that you're not going to use. And so I like that. I feel like that's got the area that I want to use for the head swap. And so after you've got your square or your section marked off, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to press Command J or Control J if you have a PC. And that's going to create this new little layer of that specific section that you've sectioned off. Now I'm going to turn off this layer here that we're not going to use. You just select the eye there, and that turns that off. And now you can see I have my little section over here on the image that I want to save. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press the Move tool, and I'm going to move this just kind of, at first I'm just going to try to eyeball it, kind of move this head where I think I want it to go. I think that looks about right. Something I will also do is I will lower the opacity. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see. I'll lower the opacity on this layer, and then that allows you to see what's behind it. If this was a shot where she was looking right at me in both of them, I would definitely try to line up the eyes. just because that's a really good indicator of just making sure the new part is aligned correctly. And so, but this, because her head is turned to her left in this one and then she's facing forward, we'll have to guess a little bit about what looks good with this. So what I think I want to do is I think I'm kind of, instead of looking at her eyes to line this up, I really am kind of looking at this pattern in her dress, just trying to get that kind of somewhat the same. I'm going to bump this back up so you can see. I think I'm going to scooch this over a little bit. Okay, I think I like that. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to press enter just to kind of lock that in place. And then once you like where you have your layer aligned, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to press this little rectangle with a circle inside of it, and that's just going to add a layer mask. And that's going to allow you to make some changes to this layer that you've now added to the other layer. And so now that we have that, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to press my brush tool. You can see up here I have my opacity at 100 and the flow at 80. I have the black on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply just erase the area that I don't want to stay there. And so a good rule of thumb is to try to use as much of the original image as possible, just for the sake of trying to make it look as natural as possible. And so I'm just going to simply erase a lot of that second layer to where I'm just kind of getting what I need. Now what you can see, I'm going to zoom in here, it's super, super easy. If you find that you're doing too much, so you can see here I've just erased too much, all you have to do is switch back to white and then just go back over and paint back on what you want to add back on. And so really this just takes a little bit of playing, a little bit of changing your brush size, maybe even mess with the flow a little bit. Sorry, that was my dog. And so I'm just going to go through and just kind of look at what you definitely want to erase that harsh line that will just come from the edges of that layer that we've added. So I'm just going to erase here. And you can see here I've erased a little bit too much right there, so I'm going to go back. Actually, I kind of think that looks good. Let me see. Another thing that I will do is I will just kind of turn off my layer just to kind of see the difference, to see what kind of adjustments I need to make. There's a lot of other things that you can do in Photoshop. Again, I am not, Photoshop is definitely not an area that I know very well in terms of terminology, but you could even do things in Photoshop like cloning or matching the exposure and all of those types of things. But for this, since the images were so similar in color and settings and everything, you're not going to really have to do a whole lot in Photoshop to accomplish this head swap. And so I think I like that. I think that looks really good. Let me zoom out. Turn off the before, and then there's the after. It looks really, really natural. Again, what I have found is once you tell somebody you've done a head swap, oftentimes they can maybe point out some little mistakes or they can notice some things, but if you hadn't have said that you did a head swap, 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to notice. And it's a really incredible, incredible option for your photography. So the final step that I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to go to File, and then I'm just going to go to Save. And what is so incredible about this is going to save my image and shoot it directly back over to Lightroom. You see it opening up right here. And I just love that. I just love how Lightroom and Photoshop really work together. And so let's see if I can see the before. So there's the before and there's the after the head swap. So anyways, I hope that was super helpful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Hope you guys have a great day.